Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha.
Greetings, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you here to today's Lama Life livestream event on behalf of Tara Mandala International Buddhist Community. My name is Dreame, which is my Dharma name, and I'm connecting with you from the forest of West Northern Poland, on the traditional lands of the Pomeranian tribes. It's truly wonderful to be with you right now, whether you are joining us live or connecting through the recording. I'm deeply grateful to be part of this experience with each of you. At Tara Mandala, we are committed to being a welcoming, open, and safe community for practitioners and students of all cultures, races, religions, genders, sexual orientations, age, ability, and circumstances. We are so blessed to have Lama Tsultrim Allione with us today. Lama Tsultrim established this live stream in 2022 as an open offering to all who are willing to receive it without the need for registration or really any limitations. This generous gift allows us to come together as a Sangha, sharing in Lama's teachings from every corner of the world. How amazing is that? As if that weren't enough, today, Lama Tsultrim will be offering teachings on a practice she developed that brings the profound wisdom of ancient Tibetan teachings into the modern world. This method, called Feeding Your Demons, offers a groundbreaking approach for dealing with fears, anxieties, illnesses, and self-defeating patterns. It has already touched the lives of thousands across 5 continents, making these teachings accessible and effective for Buddhists and secular practitioners alike. If you haven't already, I encourage you to send a warm hello to Lama Tsultrim in the chat. Lama La, it's truly an honor to welcome you with deep gratitude for your guidance and support as we journey together on this path. Thank you, Lama La, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Dreamela. And warm welcome to everybody coming in from everywhere. It's really nice to see someone from Cape Town, South Africa, Berkeley, Seattle, Czech Republic. I'm going to be there soon, actually. Leaving for Europe toward the end of September. And the first place I'll be teaching is the Czech Republic. I'll be teaching non-dual teachings, non-duality, an exploration of effortless presence. And Dreamy maybe can post that whole European schedule. I'll be in Czech Republic, in Germany, in Sweden, and in Italy. I think that's all. Over this fall. So I've never been to Sweden before. I'm excited about going there. And of course, always excited to go back to Italy and Germany. We have so many heart disciples there, and a lot of interest in feeding your demons. So, yeah, I thought before I begin on feeding your demons today, I would talk a little bit about another, I guess you could say, child that I have given birth to, which is this book. It's called The Play of Luminosity. And this isn't a book of my art that goes from when I was a teenager to the present time. Many people don't realize that I was an artist before I was a nun, went to art school, and that's what I thought I was going to do. And then once I became a nun, I thought, oh, art is just ego. I shouldn't paint anymore. And I continued to do some work, but I really, for a large part, stopped. But then throughout my life, it would kind of come back in. And lately, since I moved to Encinitas, I've actually been doing quite a lot more. So the end of the book is paintings from Costa Rica and Encinitas. Here's a couple of them. I guess you can see that. Yeah. I got fascinated with sea and sky, the space that you feel at the beach, and its connection with the nature of mind. And so some of those paintings are also have a human or some humans in between the sea and the sky. Like, let's see. Here's one from Costa Rica of somebody just on the beach looking at the sunset. What I've been working with really throughout my life, even from a very early age when I was still in high school, was layers of light. I saw the cathedrals in France and the stained glass windows, and I used to go sit in the cathedrals of France when I went there when I was 16 to study French. And it was one of the places that I discovered meditation. I didn't know meditation. I mean, it didn't exist in the West at that time, but I was going to these churches and meditate without realizing what I was doing. And then I would look at the stained glass windows and really feel how the architects of the Renaissance and the Romanesque period and so on were really trying to take people into an experience of light and space. And so that influenced my early art. I did a lot of work with that's somewhat influenced by stained glass windows. These the black around the edges and then color inside, like a stained glass window. And then I was, from a very early age, also, this was the first painting that I did. This was of my grandfather. And I don't know how well you can see it, but I was interested in trying to paint the inner reality of a person in combination with their outer appearance. And so those are sort of the themes that are in the book. It has 164 pages. It's on archival paper. It was produced for our 30th anniversary by Tara Mandala. There's also a section of it that tracks my overland journey from London to Kathmandu. And like, this is a page in my, let's see, in my journal about the inner and outer journey. And here's another page in the journal. I was in a VW bus. for 6 weeks, traveling overland. Anyway, this book has a limited printing. We printed 500 of these, and quite a few are gone already. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody who might want this knows about it. And it's a linen cover and an embossed image on the cover. It's actually a really beautiful book. So I just wanted to tell you about that. Yeah, so this morning, what I want to do is to lead you in the practice of feeding a demon. But first, I want to introduce it a little bit. And then once I'm finished leading you, then we'll have a moment for some questions or comments. So the practice of feeding your demons really came out of my experience of teaching the Chöd practice, which is a practice where you do feed demons. You make the body offering, and then you feed not only demons, but you feed all the 3 roots, the 3 jewels, and demons. And so when I was teaching this in the West, so you sing it in Tibetan. It's a bell and a drum that you're trying to do with, the 2 sides of your brain, and sing it in Tibetan. And so I realized that this really could become a very abstract conceptual practice and kind of like putting on a foreign outfit rather than actually something that was deeply personal and affecting people's lives. And so that's why I began the practice of feeding your demons, really as a teaching aid for teaching Chöd practice. But what happened was a lot of my students were therapists and still are. And the reason for that is that I've always felt that there's an important interface of Western psychology and Buddhism. I recognize that Western psychology doesn't have the depth or really the same motivation as therapy, and yet both are studying and working with the mind. And so I've developed methods that have some crossover with psychological methods or therapies and Buddhist teaching. And so I have a lot of therapist students. And so I taught this method of feeding your demons to them, and they started using it in their practice. And then they came back to me and said, that exercise of feeding your demons, that's all my clients want to do now. It's so effective. And so I realized, this sort of teaching aid has a life of its own. And in a way, it's like a Western Chöd practice. So it's taking these practices from a Tibetan woman who lived from 1055 to 1145 in Tibet, and making them accessible and useful in a Western context. And it's a method that can be used by anyone. It's not a Buddhist method in the sense that you can do feeding your demons without ever realizing that it has roots in Buddhist practice. And yet it does have roots in Buddhist practice. And there's a couple of things that sort of distinguish it as having Buddhist influence. One is the generation of intention to do it for the benefit of all beings in the beginning, what we would call the raising of bodhicitta. And then the dissolution at the end in the 5th step, where one's body with the integrated energy of the ally dissolve and essentially into emptiness. But I don't call it that. I just call it dissolve and rest in what's ever present after the dissolution. So there's a few other elements in it, the dissolving and offering of the body, which is not done in the traditional way of exiting from the top of your head and then chopping up your body and putting it into a skull cup and turning it into nectar, but simply dissolving the body into nectar. So in any case, this practice has had a life of its own. It's particularly useful with anxiety, depression, and addiction, but also has been very effective in physical ailments, headaches, back pain, cancer, chronic pain, or sort of temporary intense pain. Also fears. We did a special Lama Live during COVID, and that was the last time I've taught Feeding Your Demons on Lama Live. We did a special one on the fear of COVID and that demon. So demons are not sort of dark, ghoulish beings that are hiding, in the alleyway. They are our own issues, essentially. It's what's keeping us from complete freedom. What's blocking us from that? That's your demon. And so your demons could be like financial anxiety. It could be a relationship issue. If it is a relationship issue, and of course, relationships are very good at bringing out our demons. If it is one, remember that you are working with your reaction to the relationship, not the other person. So that's important. And with any relationship situation or situation with a colleague or your boss at work or whatever, you're always going to be working with your experience of that, your experience, not them. And the same with collective demons. We've done collective demon work on things like racism, homophobia, and then the demons within an organization, and so on. But it's always working with your reaction to that, which is individual. And that's one of the things that differentiates perhaps Western Buddhism from Eastern Buddhism or Asian Buddhism, is that in Western Buddhism, we're often working more specifically with the individual. There isn't a sort of general prescription. Everybody does this practice and then this practice and then this one, but more we work with this particular practice, but then exploring and individuating within that practice. So we're not working with the demon of ego clinging per se. We're working with our own fears, our own chronic pain, perhaps, our own depression, anxiety, etc. So this is taking this 11th century method and then bringing it and sort of transforming it into a form that can be useful and beneficial in a Western context for Westerners. And with things like PTSD or trauma, there's so many different kinds of trauma, climate change trauma that are happening in our world today. There's been 2 studies that have been published about this, about the method, scientific studies that have shown great promise and great benefit from using it for anxiety, depression, and addiction. That's what it's tested for. So that's a little bit of an introduction. And what I want to do is actually lead you in this. So I'm hoping that as you have been listening to me, you've been thinking, okay, what's my demon? What's up for me today? What is going on in you today? What's draining your energy? What's dragging you down? Is it a relationship issue? Is it perhaps something at work? Perhaps a general depression demon? So take a moment and think about that. Like, what's happening with me that I would like to work on today? And by the way, if you're interested in going deeper than we will today and really learning and being certified in this method, there is a course that's actually starting September 1st. But you can, if you miss the beginning, you can go back and listen to that beginning. And you can just take level 1 or level 1 and 2 or all 3 levels, including certification. So I just wanted to mention that at the beginning, because sometimes people are kind of like, I love this, I want to do more. And then they don't realize that this is available. So there's 5 steps in feeding your demons. And the first step is finding it in your body, feeling where you're holding this energy most strongly in your body. The second step is putting that demon in front of you, having it move out of your body, become personified as a being, and then asking it 3 questions. What do you want? What do you really need? What do you really need? And how will you feel if you get what you really need? And so those second and third questions are the key questions, because the demon will present itself with a want. Like, let's say you have a social anxiety demon. That demon will want you to not go to a social gathering or not to speak publicly. That's what it will want. It'll just want to isolate you. But there's a need under that want that isn't that. And that need might be something like a need for security and safety. And then the third question, how you feel if you get what you really need, the answer might be secure, safe. And so the answer to the third question, that feeling she will get when the need is satisfied, is what you're going to feed the demon. So I wanted to distinguish between the want and the need. I hope that's clear. The want is kind of what presents itself in a sort of outer level, and the need is what's under that. And then you become the demon. You actually will change places. So you might want to set up your room or wherever you're sitting to have a place where you could stand up in front of where you're sitting now and face your seat, or sit and turn around and face where you're sitting now. So you become the demon, you answer those questions, and then you come back into your original seat. And then in the next step, you actually dissolve your body. This is the fourth step, into nectar, and you feed that demon that you're now seeing in front of you, who has told you how it will feel if it gets what it really needs. You're going to feed it a nectar that is that. Going back to that same example, it would be, you're going to feed it the feeling of security, of safety. And so you dissolve your body into nectar. The nectar might have a certain color that flows toward the demon. Feed it to complete satisfaction. And then there's a couple of options, I guess you could say, for what will happen at the end of the feeding. One is that the demon will disappear, kind of poof into a cloud or melt into a puddle. or go to sleep. And the other is that it will transform into something else, like could be an animal, it could be a different kind of being, not necessarily a human being, could be a human being. It could actually morph into something else. And that's based on the idea that that energy that's locked up in our demon, let's say it's a demon, well, we can just stick with the same one, that a fear of social, like a social anxiety demon. So there's a lot of energy locked up in that, in avoiding contact with people, in avoiding social situations, reacting to that, the fear of it happening, etc. So there's energy, right, that's locked up in these demons. That energy itself becomes the ally. So it's not that it becomes something different, but that very energy that was the demon becomes the ally. And this is based on the story of Lama Tsultrim herself, the woman who evolved the practice of Chöd that I was teaching, and for that reason developed this method. So in her life, when she was young, she was attacked by a demon that was a water spirit, very fierce water spirit that was considered to kind of own a certain area. And near that area was a tree above that pond. And Machik went up into that tree and was sitting in the tree. She comes out of the temple, floats up into the tree, and then that Naga demon rises up from the pond and is furious and goes to attack her. But she stays in samadhi, she stays in meditation. It comes at her, and then she offers her body. And it is really upset that it can't scare her. And so it calls up a whole demon army, and they all attack her at the same time. And she still stays in that posture of offering, that inner posture of offering, feeding, not fighting. That very energy of her lack of resistance and her generosity and compassion turns them into allies. And they say to her, we have faith in you, and we will protect you and your followers and be their allies in the future. So the very demons that were attacking her become allies. She doesn't kill the demons by calling in allies. It's a transformation of that very energy that's been caught up in the demon into something supportive. So the ally may be the being that remains at the end of feeding your demons, or it may be a being that you invoke, that you call it to appear. So that's going to be kind of two options that happen when we get there. And then ultimately the ally dissolves into you, and you, with the integrated energy of the ally, also dissolve. And then you rest, as I said before, in open awareness. And so those are the 5 steps. 5th step is that resting. And so don't worry if you couldn't track all that, because I'm going to take you through it step by step. You don't need any paper. You don't need the book. You don't need anything except your full attention. And so there is a book. This is it. And it's published in 28 languages now. It became a bestseller in the United States, and it's selling also a lot in Germany. And I think it's in its 5th printing or something in Germany. But it's in Italian. I'm not sure if it's in the Czech language. Probably, because it's in a lot of languages. But in any case, there is a book, and you can get that, but you don't need that now. So, are you ready to start? I am going to assume that you're all saying yes. And so we'll begin. You'll have your eyes closed throughout this process. You may need to open them a little bit when you change places, but keep them closed. It will help you stay in the process. And I will also have my eyes closed because I'll be guiding you through it. Okay? Ready? I'm seeing a lot of yeses here. Good. Okay. So let's take a moment, just have a little silent moment where you can think about what you want to work with today. And pick something that's really up for you. Like, what's bugging you? Okay, so let's take a moment and think about that. Okay. All right, so now close your eyes and we'll begin with some relaxation breathing. And so with your eyes closed, breathe into any physical tension that you're holding in your body. Any physical tension that you're holding in your body, let the breath travel to that place in your body. Imagine that the breath is hooking it and it's riding out on the out breath. So this is for physical tension. Breathe into it. Let the breath gather that tension up and it rides out on the out breath. And now bring your attention to any emotional tension that you're holding. And notice where you might be holding emotional tension in your body. Maybe it's a worry. Maybe it's some sadness. Maybe it's some anxiety. What kind of emotional tension do you have? And then notice any mental tension that you're holding. This would be tension around a concept or thoughts that you're having, actual thinking. Where do you hold that tension in your body? Breathe into it and let it go with the out breath. And now take a moment to raise the intention to do this practice for the benefit of all beings, for yourself and all beings everywhere. A heartfelt raising of that thought, I want to help others. And in order to help others, I'm going to do this practice. And now we'll begin the actual 5 steps. So the first thing we'll do, step 1, is to think about whatever demon that you decided to work with, perhaps recalling an incident when this came up strongly. And bring your attention to the place in your body that you feel this most strongly when you think about it. Perhaps it's up right now, or perhaps you can recall an occasion when you were acutely in this demon's control. And as you recall that, bring your attention to your body and notice where in your body you hold this most strongly. Bring your attention to that place in your body. If this were to have a color in your body, what color would it be? What shape does it take in your body? What kind of shape does it have? What's the texture or consistency of it? What's its texture like? Or the consistency? What's its temperature? If it had a smell, what would the smell be like? Now bring your full attention to that place in your body, intensifying that sensation with its color, its shape, its consistency, its temperature, and its smell. Intensify that. And now imagine that shape with its color, texture, temperature moves out of your body. And it can be helpful to actually take it from your body and move it out of your body with your hands, imagining you're taking it out and putting it in front of you and seeing it transform into a being. A being with arms and legs. Notice what the density of that being's body is. How dense is it? What size is it? How big is it? What color is it? Or colors, if it has more than one color. What's the surface of its body like? Does it have a gender? If so, what is its gender? What's its emotional state? What's its character like, or its personality? In general, what kind of character does it have? What's the look in its eyes? When you look into its eyes, what do you see? And now notice something about it that you didn't notice before. Something you didn't see before. And now we're going to ask it 3 questions. I'll give them to you one at a time, and then you can ask them either out loud or silently, depending on your situation. What do you want? What do you want? What do you really need? What do you really need? How will you feel if you get what you really need? How will you feel if you get what you really need? And now, keeping your eyes closed as much as possible, stand up, turn around, and face where you're sitting now. Actually, physically get up. It's important that you actually do change places. So physically get up, change places. Maybe you're sitting on the floor. You can just move to sit in front of where you're sitting now. Once you're in that position, you're looking back toward where you were sitting, and you're going into being in the body of the demon, that demon that you were seeing in front of you. Now you are it. You're in that body. Take a moment and feel how it feels to be that size, that gender, if it had one, that density, to have that emotional state, that kind of personality. And now really being in that body, notice what your normal self looks like from the demon's point of view. And now answer that question, first one. And I'll give you the beginning of each answer and then repeat the beginning and then answer the question. What I want is, what I want is what I really need is, what I really need is if I get what I really need, I will feel. If I get what I really need, I will feel. Remember the answer to that third question. If I get what I really need, I will feel. And come back to your original seat. See the demon in front of you. Take a moment to come back into your own body and see the demon in front of you. And now, recalling that answer to the third question, dissolve your body. Just imagine that your whole body just melts. And it melts into nectar. And the quality of that nectar is the feeling the demon will have when it gets what it really needs. Body's dissolving into nectar. Notice the color of the nectar. And that nectar's flowing toward the demon, and the demon's able to take it in, to drink it down. Just notice how it's taking it in. It may be absorbing it through the surface of its body. Just notice how it's taking it in. There's an infinite quantity of the nectar. And it's flowing to the demon and nurturing it, feeding it with the nectar. And as you feed it, you may see it morph into something else. Just notice what happens when you feed it to complete satisfaction. Remember, there's an infinite quantity of the nectar, and the demon is able to take it in, to be nurtured by it. Notice what happens when it's completely satisfied. And now it's completely satisfied. If there's a being that remains, ask that being, are you the ally? Just ask, are you the ally? Says yes, you'll work with that. If it says no, or if the demon dissolved completely so there was no being that remained, invite an ally to appear. Invite the ally to appear. If it dissolved, or if that being that remained said it's not the ally. Invite the ally to appear. And now notice the size of the ally. What size is it? How big is it? Does it have a gender? If it's an inanimate object, invite it to become a being with eyes and legs and so on. Invite the ally to appear. So now we have the ally. Notice the size of it. Does the ally have a gender? What is the density of the ally's body? What is the surface of its body like? Is the ally wearing clothes? Does it have some other surface of its body? Note the gender if it has one. And note the look in the ally's eyes. What is the emotional state of the ally? Does it have a color? What is the personality or the character of the ally like? What kind of personality does it have? And now notice something about the ally that you didn't see before. Something you hadn't noticed about the ally. And now we'll ask the ally some questions. I'll give them to you one at a time. And then at the end, you'll change places and become the ally. How will you help me? How will you help me? How will you protect me? How will you protect me? What is your pledge to me? What is your pledge to me? How can I access you? How can I access you? And go ahead and change places and become the ally. Stand up, change places, and come into the body of the ally, either standing or seated, and really feel what is it like to be in that body? And what does your normal self look like from the ally's point of view? And now we'll answer those questions. I'll give you the beginning of each answer. Repeat that beginning and then finish it. I will help you by, I will help you by, I will protect you by, I will protect you by, my pledge to you is, my pledge to you is, you can access me by, you can access me by, and now come back into your original seat. See the ally in front of you. And take a moment to feel the energy coming to you from the ally. And particularly notice the ally's eyes and the energy coming from the ally's eyes. And now the ally dissolves into light, into luminosity. Notice the color of that light. Then that light comes to your body and is spreading through your whole body, dissolving into your body. Notice how it feels when that luminosity, that color, spreads out from the center of your body and your heart down into your feet, all the way to your toes. And up your shoulders, your head, your arms, and of course the trunk of your body. It's like your whole body's being washed with that luminosity. Just rest. Feel that luminosity in your body. Feel it very physically. And now imagine that your own body, with the integrated energy of the ally in it, also dissolves. Your whole body dissolves. And rest in what's ever present after your body dissolves. Just rest. And then come back into your body. With the presence of the ally in your body. And notice how that feels in a way that you will be able to recall it later. Notice how it feels to have the energy of the ally in your body. And then gradually open your eyes. Look around your room or wherever you are. And as you do, keep the presence of the ally in your body. Keep that feeling. Really establish that feeling so that you can recall it at any time. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And those are the 5 steps of feeding your demons. And whenever I lead this, I always do it myself. And I had quite a powerful experience this morning. So thank you. Thank you for being the interdependent cause for me to do this today. So, yeah, you're welcome, everyone. Exactly what I needed today. Yeah. As you're checking in, let me know if you have any questions. You can write them into the chat. I'm looking at the chat, so I think I'll see them. Any questions that came up, and in the meantime, I'll answer some frequently asked questions. One is, if I were to work with the same demon again, because it's a core demon of mine, would I see it in the same way? Would it look the same, and would the ally be the same? The answer is no. You want to do it even if it's the same demon, like let's say a fear, the same fear. You want to do it as though you're doing it for the first time. And so each time you do it, that allows the demon to evolve. I've worked with the same demon every day over a month, and it evolves and changes significantly over that time. And if I were just to keep visualizing it the same way as it was in the beginning, it doesn't allow for that inner metabolism of the energy that's caught in this demon. I wasn't looking to see if there's any questions as I was speaking, so I see one here. Another issue arose while focusing on the original issue. Where do I put my focus? I think maybe that's a second question. Well, I'll answer. Another issue is, okay. Stick with the first one. Often there is something called a hydra, which is the interconnectedness of demons. You might have depression with anxiety that's, let's say, based on sexual abuse. Then you have that central sexual abuse experience. And then you have maybe an addiction, you have maybe depression, you have maybe anxiety, you have a fear, you have a physical illness or whatever, all tied with that. But you want to just stick with the first one that came up. And then at the end, you can note, this other one came up while I was doing that. I want to do another one with that, what came up. But if you start jumping around once you've started, it's going to get really confusing. So stick with whatever came up first, but at the end you can note the other ones that are in line waiting. And somebody asked, can you do this more than one a day? Yes, you can. You can do as many as you want in one day. And that can be helpful, even if it's the same demon, because it will evolve. And if it's an intense period of your life, let's say you've just been through a breakup with somebody, all kinds of different things are coming up, this will really help you go through that. And another thing I should mention is, if there's demons that are really heavy and intense, and you don't really want to tackle them by yourself, although tackle I don't think is the right word. You don't want to feed them by yourself. There are therapists who are certified in this method who are on our website. Therapists and facilitators who are certified. So a facilitator doesn't have to be a therapist. It could be another kind of profession, but they're certified in the method. And then there's psychotherapists or psychologists who are certified in the method. If it's something very intense, like a really intense childhood trauma, I would suggest that you contact one of those therapists and work with them. So you have the safety of that container of working with a professional if you have some hesitations about doing it by yourself. But, with a lot of our sort of everyday demons, you don't need that. You can do it by yourself. Yeah, somebody asked that question, can we work with the same demon more than once? And I answered that. You can, but don't think it looks the same. Sometimes I can't actually visualize. How can it get better at that? Yeah, good question, Mark. So there's a little phrase that I suggest you use at any point during the process where you get stuck. Could be you can't feed it to complete satisfaction. You can't see the demon. You can't see the ally. Whatever. Any moment you get like, oh my God, this isn't working. I'm stuck. What you say is, if I could see it, what would it look like? Or if it did know what it wanted, what would that be? It's just this little phrase, but it sort of bypasses our unconscious desire to block the process, because these demons also might try to block the process because they like being there. They've been there a long time, They've been doing their thing for a long time. So not that they're actually an entity. I don't mean that, but just they're sort of established in the psyche, and there may be some unconscious resistance to transforming them or letting them be transformed. And so that's little phrase. If I could, what would it be? That's really helpful. And also to remember, a lot of times people say, I can't visualize. In fact, I did this with Dick Schwartz, who does the parts work and wrote like that book, No Bad Parts. It's a wonderful method. And we did it on Lama Live together one time. And when I was just starting with him, the first thing he said was, I can't visualize. I was like, oh, great. How are we going to do this? But I said to him, can you imagine? If I say, imagine an apple right now, can you imagine an apple? And he said, yes. And I said, you can visualize then. And somehow he had this idea he couldn't, but he did. And he did the whole feeding your demons process in the normal way. But you can also use that little phrase, if you could, what would it look like? And don't worry about, like, I'm just making this up. Because you are just making this up. The whole thing, we're just making it up. So don't think, oh, I don't think this is really it. I just made this up. Don't worry about that. Let's see what else. See if there's any more questions. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's one. Antonio. Sounds like an Italiano. I hope I'll meet you in Italy. I struggle in my day-to-day life remembering that there is an ally. How can I call upon them? Great question, Antonio. Well, you had that moment at the end where I said recall the feeling of the ally in your body. So really do that when you do the 5 steps. Really take that moment to kind of make that indelible in your somatic experience. Take a moment to actually feel that so you can recall it. And another thing you can do is to draw a picture of your ally, or find something like a postcard or an image on the internet or whatever of it, what it looks like, and then have that with you. Keep it with you. I also love the little, the Zuni tribe in Arizona makes these little animals, they're very small little stone carved beings, mostly animals. And if it happened to be an animal, you could maybe find one of those that you keep in your pocket or you keep it on your desk. It's really helpful to have a thing with you if you're going into a situation where you know that demon's going to be very active, like a family reunion. Around the holidays, a lot of people have to go home. I mean, not that we don't want to go home, but going home or being with our family can be very triggering, right? I think that's pretty universally true, because often we change, we evolved, but the situation in the family kind of brings us back to a younger time in our lives when maybe things were difficult. So anyway, take something with you that you can have as your buddy, your ally, as you go into that situation. Sometimes you can find like a stuffed animal that is like your ally, or even just draw it and have that little picture with you. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. I think I kind of answered this, but can I work with more than one demon at the same time? And the answer would be no. Choose one. You can work with one after the other, but don't try to do two at once. Yeah. Alyssa asked about the demon running away. And so she sat and imagined it return. That's perfect thing to do. Yes, that's perfect thing to do. It's similar to that, if I could see it, where would it be? It's like, if it did come back, where would it be? So, yeah. See, I'm just scrolling down. Element being between the worlds, Bardo, like that is that common? I'm not sure about that question. Maura, can you write and clarify that? Are you saying there was a feeling of being between the worlds in the Bardos? I think that's what you're saying. So I'm going to answer it that way. Yeah, I mean, in a way you are. You're kind of like not in your normal state. This is somewhat almost like a shamanic journey. There's another step where you actually go on a journey with the ally that's very shamanic. But this also has shamanic components in the sense of feeding and meeting. That's what's difficult. Like often shamans will meet the sort of embodiments of certain diseases, and then those diseases become the diseases that the shaman can heal. And shamans, shamanic initiation often involves death and reemergence. So if that happens and you're feeling, wow, I'm really kind of between the worlds, that's fine. Don't worry. Just stick with the 5 steps. And the same thing, this isn't what you're asking, but it's just coming up for me answering. If let's say the demon appears and it's like super scary and you're like, I don't know if I want to go on with this. Or you start crying, and that's not uncommon when it first appears. Don't worry. Stick with the process. asking it the questions, and then become it. And of course, as soon as you become it, you're not scared of it because you are it. So just keep going and you'll get through that. Just looking if there's more questions. Antonio, you can ask the ally how to connect with them. Julian's telling Antonio something. Yeah, Jerry Ann Reed writes, thank you for teaching us to trade places. That is actually a really important part of the demon work. And some people think, oh, I don't need to do that. I can imagine it. I don't do it when I'm leading you because I can't talk to you if I'm facing the other direction. But it is really important. Why? Because this practice is all about embodiment. We keep coming back to our body. We start with our body, with the feeling in our body, and then being the demon, being the ally, and then dissolving the body. So there's all these parts in it that are connected to the body. And so when you actually change places, it helps to make that distinction between yourself, your normal self, and that part of your psyche that is embodied symbolically in that figure of the demon. So don't leave that part out. Is it okay to develop a cadre or of allies? I think it should be not or, even as the demon changes. Well, again, the ally, you want to work with one. There may be others around it. That's not a problem, but choose one. That usually first thought, best thought. The first one that appears is that one. Someone's asking to repeat that phrase. I think how you use that when you can't visualize or something. The phrase is, if I could, for example, see it, if I could visualize it, what would it look like? Or let's say it won't get satisfied. If it could get satisfied, what would happen? What would I see? So you just, if I could, what would? That's, if I could, what would? That's a phrase. I think that's it. Yeah, it is a powerful tool, Katrina. How do you incorporate this practice with the Tara practice? It's separate. You wouldn't do it as part of the Tara practice, but maybe doing Tara practice, things have come up that you've noticed that, oh, I have this demon. Then do demon work. Just, it's separate from the actual practice itself. And, when people do a lot of meditation, like let's say you have a Vipassana practice and you're doing 10-day Vipassana retreats, a lot comes up, or you're doing other kind of solitary retreat. Demon work is super helpful in those situations. And I know several Vipassana teachers who teach this because in those 10-day silent retreats, people can get stuck with a big demon. And this really helps them to move through that. Let's see. Is it possible to deeply heal the body in this way, like a form of profound energy medicine? Shivani, yes, absolutely. It is. And there's some interesting stories. There's a story in the book about someone who had AIDS, and he was actually in a test group for antiviral medication. I think it was called AZT at the time. And he was getting the placebo, wasn't getting the medication. But they were testing him every month. And he kept getting better. Like his T cells, his immune cells were going up. And they couldn't figure out why. And they said to him, just whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So I'm not saying this is a miracle cure for anything and stop your cancer treatment and start doing feeding your demons. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there have been very profound experiences that people have had of actual healing with this. And it can be as simple as that they are have a headache when they begin, and at the end they don't have a headache anymore. Did anyone work with a physical thing and have it shipped? Mine wants a name. That's fine. That's fine. Horatia doesn't mean anything to me, but it might to you, and you might look it up just out of curiosity. There are videos of me doing this online. Would a tattoo be helpful? Yeah, sure. I've known people that have done that. David's saying, I've done this for over a decade now. It's the most effective method I know. Yeah, it really is amazingly effective. And there's several people doing their PhD theses on it now, and there will be more studies. So if you're in a position to do a study of it, you might consider doing that. Yeah, David, you often see the grail. Yeah, it can take all kinds of form. These are images that are in our unconscious, and they're images that are offered by our unconscious. And that's why don't doubt it. Like some people like, I get such a corny ally. It was a fairy, like a fairy godmother. That's so corny. I don't think that was it, Don't edit it. Like, that's what appeared. That's it. It's your unconscious offering these images. Okay, Callista, I see link for psychotherapist facilitators is not working correctly. So Dreamy can report that to our people, and we can check back in a couple of days. I'm not familiar with the Dabrowski method or theory, Jeannie, but yeah, it certainly could be like that. Yeah, just scaling through, scrolling, not scaling. Back soften, it can now move. Oh, okay, so this is someone who did it with something physical, because I asked about that. Yeah, let's see. Do you feel this practice is more effective with severe PTSD for Westerners than traditional Chöd practice? Yes, I would. I would say that, because it's individualized. It's working with that individual issue. And I would also suggest, if you are working with severe PTSD, to do it with the company of a facilitator or a therapist, particularly a therapist, depending on how severe it is. Thank you, everyone, for your positive thoughts. And Dreamy, did I miss any questions? I was scrolling and talking, so I could have. If I did, can you maybe put them in the chat? And if I didn't, that's great. I'll just scroll down to the bottom of the chat in case Dreamy put something in there. yeah, so it's amazing. Yeah. You know, this was just a little sort of teaching aid that I developed. I mean, probably now 30 years ago. And then I refined it over the years. And now it's very specific. The wording is very specific. And so it's important to not change it. Not like, oh, you know, I do focusing therapy or I do this kind of, I'm just going to kind of take this and then take it into my thing that I already know, keep it as it is. And that's why we also have the certification method, because people have been trained and lots of questions come up during the training. And so if you do want to work with this intensely yourself or work with it with others, please get the certification. It's a very good program, and you need it. I really wouldn't suggest using it with others without doing that. So Dreamy has put in some frequently asked questions. Did you develop this before? Yes, a long time before. I think when I actually developed it was 1984. That was around the time my first book came out and I started teaching Chöd. It does have lots of similarities with other things. And of course, you'll see pieces of Gestalt therapy in there, you know, the changing places or the chair in front where you talk to a part of yourself. But there's very specific things that are not in anything else. And it has this energy of the connection with the lineage. What is in Tibetan Buddhism the astral plane? I think the question is, what is the astral plane in Tibetan Buddhism? Perhaps that's somebody who's not a native English speaker. The astral plane is that's a word that's used in some kinds of spirituality. And the way I understand the astral plane is it's a plane that's operating, but it's not physical. And it could be connected to the dream state. And so Tibetan Buddhism doesn't have something called the astral plane or an exact equivalent, but there is something called the mind body. And the mind body, the Yid Kilu, and that's mind, not in the enlightened mind. It's more like the sort of discursive mind. The mind body is what we experience when we're dreaming and also when we die. It's the mind body that travels through the bardo and into the next life. The mind body thinks it has a body. Just like when we're dreaming, we think we have a body. We think that we're running away from something that's chasing us, or we're doing something, but it's really just our mind. And so that might be something that's similar to what might be called the astral body. Yes, Julian, if you've done level 1, get to level 2. Thank you. Is Chöd the most effective practice for working with chakordas? I don't know what that is. Chakordas. Is there an alternative specific practice for these? I don't. Stu, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Yes, the certification is available remotely, Priscilla. You can do it remotely. one of those, sort of hidden potential blessings of the pandemic was how much we shifted to online, and our community has become so much more worldwide and international because of COVID. And COVID, of course, was extremely international. But it because everyone went online, it's made these things that often I would just teach in physical retreats. We had some online programs before COVID started, but we really were in a wonderful position to shift to online during COVID because we already were doing it. And we could reach so many more people and places. I've had Mickey Mouse and Santa Claus, yes. Yes. I know. I've had some really corny ones too, and so have other people, but that's fine. Don't feel like it has to be some esoteric something or other. And sometimes people say to me, Lama, you were my ally in it. And what I would say to that is, it's not me, it's the me in you that you saw. Or maybe there's some other person like, oh, my mother was my ally. And it's your mother that's in you, that's your ally. That's what's happening. When we face the issue that we chose today, come up again, do you suggest doing this process again? Or do we call in the ally? The great question, Shoshana. That is up to you. If it's a situation, let's say you're in a meeting or you're at a family reunion and it's coming up, you can't suddenly like, excuse me, I need about a half hour and go do the demon work. You have to deal with it then and there. Then calling on the ally can be very helpful, but then perhaps later or before you go into that situation, do the actual demon work. So I would say both, and depending on the circumstances. How do we balance the energy of doing this for the world betterment and our own selfish needs? Well, what I would say to that, Kate, is that doing our own demon work is the best thing we can do for the world, because in the same way that if the Buddha didn't get enlightened, we wouldn't have all of his benefit in the world today. So the more we can become clear vessels and work with our own demons, the more we can benefit others. So I think I've answered all the questions now. And, oops, there's one more. Is it important to recall each ally from every session? I wouldn't worry about that, like, dishonoring an ally. If somehow it fades away, that's okay. It can be helpful to create like an ally shelf and, have all symbolic representations of your ally. But that's not necessary. It can be, in the immediate situation, important and helpful, but maybe that situation then is transformed through the demon work and you don't need that ally anymore. So don't worry about the allies feeling offended or something. So could it be possible to transform negative energy or emotions to positive energy towards the Dharma? Prashant, I think that probably what you're talking about is you've had a bad experience in the Dharma, the teacher or something. You can definitely work with those situations with feeding your demons. And then maybe that does change your attitude toward the Dharma. Yeah. Sylvia, thank you. That's a beautiful thank you. And yes, I would like to particularly thank Dreamela, who has been my partner on Lama Live from the beginning. 2022. We did this every Sunday for over 2 years, and now it's more sparsely, because I'm more busy and traveling. But if you like Lama Live, let us know, and we'll try to make it more regular. But there is going to be another one on September 15th, for sure. And that will be me giving an introduction to the Green Tara practice and talking, in the long, when I give the long for it, which many of you attended, the long is the oral transmission I gave a few weeks ago. I talk about it a little bit, but I'll do a whole Lama Live on that, on Green Tara and on the particular Green Tara practice that we do. Which we do have an online course for as well. So that's what I'm going to do on the 15th. And then watch our social media. And by the way, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and the Lama Tsultrim Allione Instagram or the Lama Tsultrim Allione Facebook. We do a lot of announcements in those places. And then we have an email list. So sign up for that also, and you'll be kept up to date on when Lama Live is happening again. I have to say I love doing this, and I love being with you. I can't see you, but I can feel you. And it's just like so meaningful to hear all of you who were helped by this today. And it's just an hour of my time. So it's really, I feel you out there. I'm glad it was helpful, and I hope to meet many of you along the way, along our way. And before we close, I also want to thank all my teachers. Without them, I wouldn't be here today, and it's through their blessings that the Dharma has continued, to our foremothers and forefathers in the Dharma, and each of us, carries it forward as well. So great to be with you. And Susan Martin, I just saw her name go by. I just want to thank you, Susan, for making those amazing pendants. So what she did was, we have clay on the land of Tara Mandala, like really good quality, high quality, porcelain grade clay. She took the clay and she made pendants with sacred symbols on them that you can wear around your neck that are of the earth of Tara Mandala. So we gave one of those to everyone who came to the 30th anniversary. And I think we have more in our store if it's something you want. But anyway, Susan gave those, and she did it just from the generosity of her heart. And she's made other things in the past. And it's just amazing to have a ceramicist associated with Tara Mandala and living in Pagosa Springs. So you've missed Lama Live. Oh, me too. And we will try to get back to you more regularly, and see how it all develops. And by the way, there is the Wisdom Rising podcast, which are parts of Lama Lives that have been edited and put up on the Wisdom Rising podcast. We haven't been doing a lot of new ones lately, but there's a lot there with a lot of different teachings and methods like this. So thank you all. Oh, Yamuna, hey, back in Germany. She was just here. And Encinitas. Thank you, everyone. And let's take a moment and dedicate the merit from our time together, the merit of all of our positive efforts for the benefit of beings, that we generated in the beginning, and allow that to go out to all beings everywhere, particularly where it's really needed. I can feel it going out. And thank all of you. I'd love to I'm going to stay on for a minute. I'll be checking in. I'm just curious of where you all joined from. And you can put that in the chat. And we will have a look at it. And the other thing is this was posted. This will be posted on our YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. And so it's going to be sitting there. And so you can share it with friends, or you can go back and listen to it again and use it from there if you want to have a place where you're guided in feeding your demons by my voice. It'll be there for you. And yeah, lots of love from everyone. I'm looking at these places. Dublin Airport. Heading home to Bristol, England. Romania, Connecticut. Main side of the New Hampshire border. Oh, interesting. I was in New Hampshire this summer at Granite Lake in Munsonville near Keene, where I grew up. I grew up on that lake. Jeanette, that's Gowrie in Maine, France, Cape Cod, London, Grenoble, France. You know, my son is teaching in France this fall, Tukulorso, and he's going to Poland too. There's someone from Poland. Warsaw, we have a wonderful Sangha there. Galloway, Scotland, what a romantic name. New Zealand. That sounds like a Maori name, the way you wrote that. New Mexico near Santa Fe. Robbins Route 66. Dublin, Ireland. The Netherlands. Yay. Love Holland. Woodstock. Frankfurt. Okay. Love to you all, and see you next time. See you on the 15th in 2 weeks. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, or maybe it's the middle of the night where you are, and hope to meet you along the way on the path. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Lama Tsultrim, for offering us this guidance today and make a real difference. Thank you. This accessible method, this process of feeding your demons is not just a way to deal with these self-defeating patterns, but it's really a path to self-compassion and understanding. So the wisdom, clarity, and care you bring to these teachings are just so precious, really invaluable. And I think we all agree that we are very fortunate to receive it directly from you. Thank you, Lamala. And to you, our audience, whatever insights or emotions have a reason for you during this live stream, may they inspire and guide your path forward. There is so much more to explore further. And the level 1 of the Feeding Your Demons online program starts September 7th, if you're interested. I'll again post the link in the chat. And on this note, I'd like to share what other opportunities await us for the rest of the year. This September at our retreat center in Colorado, we have the great honor of hosting Chakung Jigme Wangdrak Rinpoche, who will offer the precious empowerment and teachings on Dujim Lingpa's Nang Jang, a visionary text central to the Dzogchen tradition. This text reveals profound insights into the illusory nature of all things and how they arise from the ground of being. If you can make it to the land of Tara in Colorado, go. This offering is beyond precious. I'll post the link in the chat shortly. And for those who have taken the Shitro self-paced course with Lama Tsultrim, I want to highlight a very special day-long retreat on this practice with Lopun Polly Ryan on Saturday, September 21st. This program is also a precious occasion to deepen your understanding and practice. But if you're new to Shitro, it's a practice used during the 49 days after death to help those who have died. And there is still time to begin the self-paced course before this day-long retreat happens, if you feel called to this practice and if you would like to support your loved ones when they pass. Yes. And lastly, Lama Tsultrim, like Lama already announced, will be embarking on her European retreat tour, visiting the Czech Republic, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, and Italy. If you have the chance to attend any of these retreats, or all of them, I can assure you it's an experience like no other, offering this truly rare opportunity to receive Lama's teachings in person and practice within a community. I'm seeing a question whether this live stream be available. Yes, every Lama Live is available through our Facebook channel, Tara Mandala's Facebook, and Lama Tsultrim Allione's official Facebook account, as well as Tara Mandala's YouTube channel. There is a special Lama Live playlist where you can access all of our episodes. And this is number 109. So there is a lot to explore. And there is one more thing in relation to the Lama Live that we'll have on September 15th. Lama Tsultrim will be guiding practitioners in the Green Tara practice, which will be hosted by the San Diego Sangha. And this is available both in person and virtually, which is a very rare opportunity. So if you're interested, please join. Even if you don't know the practice yet, you can just connect and receive its blessings. Lama Tsultrim will be offering it on 3 Sundays: today, next Sunday, and the next, and the following one after that one. And you can learn more on the Tara Mandala network. I'll also share the link in the chat. If you're interested, there is no cost involved. There is no registration. So the Zoom link can be found within the event description on the Tara Mandala network. So finally, in appreciation for our time together today, you have the opportunity to offer Dana to Lama Tsultrim. Your generosity helps sustain our lineage and makes it possible for others to benefit from it as well. Thank you all for your presence, your practice, and your continued dedication to the path. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere.
Om tare tu re. Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re.